to Uncomfortable, conversations about culture and Christianity. My name is Eric, and today I'm joined by Caleb.
Hey there.
And Jess.
Hello, world.
And Alex.
Hey, everybody.
That's a great intro. You thought about that a lot, I can tell.
That's one I didn't think about.
This episode's starting out a little bit different. Right away, in the hot seat, we have Caleb Ashton. Why don't you tell us, or other people might know you as Pheonix Resale, out there in the YouTube world, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I am, first of all, I'm honored to be a part of the intro segment because I know oftentimes you guys do those separate, so I'm feeling very special today. But yeah, I am a full-time video game reseller and YouTuber. Been doing that for 2 to 4 years, depending on the aspect of the business. And so my full-time job is selling used video games online that I hopefully buy low and sell high. That's the idea, at least. And have known Alex here for a dozen years
at
or
least,
something.
Yeah, around there.
Back in the dark ages.
Oh,
so if you want any dirt on him, just let me know.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I have a little bit of a parasocial thing going with you guys because I've listened to this podcast irregularly for the last, how long has it been? 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. This summer will be 3 years since we started it, which is crazy.
Yeah. So this feels like coming home to me.
Oh, wow.
And vice versa, I mean, I know Jess is a big fan.
I am. I don't know really anything about video games or anything, but there's just something about how you film that I'm like caught up as far as the Dragon Ball Z that you found.
Okay. In the GameCube collection.
Yes. So
very exciting.
I think I'm 2 episodes behind you.
My strategy for watching Pheonix Resale is I bank them, and then I listen to them on long road trips. So
that's exactly what I do at the podcast.
Yeah, so
I'll go a couple months without tuning in, and then I'll do 4 or 5 in a row.
Just binge it.
Because it's just, I don't have a lot of just 20-minute segments with 4 kids running around and all that kind of stuff. And it's not like the other time I binge stuff is during a workout, but you're not workout material. So I don't know.
All right, just get right to it.
That's okay.
But I feel like you're saying he's inspirational.
Oh yeah,
He
for
keeps you
sure. It's
going
so
on
fun.
a
Just,
road trip.
just
talk.
not inspirational enough to pump some iron.
Yeah, we text back and forth and just
Your
about
voice is
YouTube
too
and
soothing,
all
probably.
that stuff. So grateful for you.
Yeah.
We got something special, Eric.
Yeah, we do. I thought that your idea was a good one, and so Alex had this idea to try to do what you do, and we went to a pawn shop. And
You did? You went to a pawn shop?
Alex and I went to a pawn
Saul's
shop.
Jewelry and Loan.
That's a good one.
With a $15.
I was so sad I missed that.
A $15 budget.
Our own money.
Okay.
Leslie, if you're listening, we did not spend any church money on
Wow.
this.
No.
This was our own money, $15.
No church money was spent here. But do you want to start, or do you want me to start? Or?
Yeah, so we both had to go in, no internet access, so we couldn't use our phone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you've handicapped yourself
Yeah,
so hard.
we did. But we wanted to. We're 15 minutes, $15, and just get a feel for who
What it is.
did better.
Is my thing a little bit different?
Yeah,
Is that what we're
we'll-
going to
we'll-
save me?
We'll save
We'll
yours
save
for
me,
last.
okay.
So I've got mine here.
Do you want to go for it? I have mine more readily available. I think now you're digging in a bag, so this makes
All right,
great
so
audio content.
I got two games that I thought would really be
Oh my
top
God.
sellers. One of these is a pickup from Bolo's, but I've heard the name. That's Cabela's. I've heard
Cabela's
you do well.
Deer Hunt on PlayStation 2.
I've heard you do well on
I feel like
some
this.
Cabela's name brand
I
stuff.
feel like this is
I assumed he
already
thought
not
that
going
said
well.
Caleb's Deer Hunt, and he bought it because of that.
No Cabela's. And
I guess I should probably mention for the listeners who
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know, I often go to pawn shops to find underpriced video games
Yes.
to flip on Amazon and eBay. So you guys were trying to emulate
Yeah, we
that
were. And
and
so-
got Cabela's Deer Hunt on PS2.
I feel like I've seen an episode or two where Cabela's did well, where you scanned it and you were surprised.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you
I
that.
That's
scanned
got some
it.
significant
I was
damage
not
on
No,
some
you did
surprised.
scan it because you had
After. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got a PC DVD, which I don't think I've ever seen you
I feel
buy.
like even I know that that's probably not.
A PC game.
I am not a gamer at all. We all know this on this channel. But Rainbow Siege
Rainbow Six.
Okay,
Tom
this
Clancy.
is telling me you need to
Rainbow
catch up on.
Six Siege. So these are gifts to you, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
So no matter how bad or good we did,
No, I appreciate that.
So this is a challenge, right? So if whoever made the most money wins.
and this is just you're not going
Auto.
to search them right now, but what do you you just the
Yeah,
gut.
I guess.
I would
$15
pay
I
someone
spent
to
on
take
both of
these
those.
games from me. Let's just say that.
So those are in the dollar pile. Those are the ones you take into GameStop.
Exactly.
That's the free box
Yes.
to get people in the door.
Okay. I'm feeling
All right.
good. I'm feeling good. 2005 is when I graduated high school.
I wish
too,
I could
so.
tell you there's some value here, but like if I sold this game for $1, I'd feel really good.
Here's the thing, though. The manuals are in them both. So
I don't even need to check.
Okay,
I'm
can
sorry.
Can I ask an additional question
Yeah.
because I wasn't there? How much did you actually spend on those?
$15
Yeah.
total.
That was our budget. It was
That was our
15.
budget.
So you spent $15 on those
Total,
two games.
yep.
Oh boy, they spotted the sucker when you walked in the door.
man.
I think they did.
Okay. Well, let's see how terrible I did here. I've got Titanfall 2 for the PlayStation
Okay,
4
yep.
and the Beatles Rock Band.
Okay, so right
For
out
the
the
Xbox
gate, you've got an
360.
advantage because you didn't buy a PC game and you didn't buy a Cabela's game.
Man.
Beatles Rock Band, I can't remember. This one may be decent, actually. This might be like a $10 game.
Okay.
And Titanfall is, it's PS4. I want to say this might be free online, actually, at this point. So this might be like $3 or $4. So
Okay.
you almost broke even.
All right. Well, I'm gonna
Alex,
I'm gonna
I'm
just
sorry.
take the win on that one. I
Yep.
think.
Yeah, that
I
was
think.
a pretty handy victory.
Also, though, we had to do something else. Sorry, bad. The only GameCube game they had there.
You got a GameCube game for me?
This is the only one they
Yeah.
had. You were doing your GameCube Gambit, and so
have
Alex,
that one?
you shouldn't have. I don't think I have that one.
Cell
no
damage.
manual, and you might need to resurface it.
And I think the child it belonged to has
You know
his
what?
name etched in the case.
Yeah.
so-
My critics would say I don't play any of my games anyway, so this will be a fantastic addition to my collection. Thank
There
you.
you go.
That's very thoughtful.
Yes.
That is really
It was
sweet.
literally the only GameCube game they
Well,
had.
you normally don't find them a lot at pawn
Yeah.
shops. I'll say that.
So
Should
There
I
you go.
stack these here
yeah,
for
they're
Yeah.
there
the viewers at
forever.
home to have a nice little?
And then Jess, since
Yes,
she didn't get
okay.
to come on this adventure,
I did, but I was like, I think I have something that I don't think I'm going to donate it because I don't know. I
yeah,
feel like I
she's
could be
gonna
on-
probably hold on to this, but she
But I
wants.
don't know.
This
We'll
is,
see.
This is
Okay.
like the
No, you
Antiques
should.
So
Road
this story
show
starts
for her.
like 14 years ago when we're moving out of our apartment, and I'm going to throw some stuff in the dumpster, and I look into a dumpster. So I got this thing for totally free.
Yeah.
And I see this box.
is it a grail? That's a word I learned from you as well.
And
Alex,
I pulled
per
this
usual,
out-
is trying to
I
slip
pulled
in as
this
many
out of
buzzwords as
the-
he possibly can.
So I pulled this out of the dumpster.
Oh my goodness.
Does
So
it
has
work?
like 3 games. I think it's an N64.
That
Yeah.
is honestly so impressive.
Those that can't see this is a green Nintendo 64 with some games.
Yep.
Two controllers.
I believe you said your husband did test this at one
Yeah,
point.
and it works.
Donkey Kong
Yep.
64, the yellow.
We just turned it on last night to make
Okay.
sure.
So do you have an idea what all this is worth?
No.
Got a memory card.
But I think that this.
Is there a Rumbler pack? Did you check for the Rumbler pack?
There's a Rumble
memory
pack over
card.
there.
Okay.
Yep.
There's what, 2 controllers?
This is a trash picked
Yes,
Nintendo
100%.
64 bundle.
I
So
found this
Pac-Man.
in a
That's
in a
amazing.
dumpster, and I feel like this is rare because it's a special color.
it sure is.
Translucent
So
green.
this is what I got. I don't know. I've had it, and it's like moved with us several times, and I've always been curious.
So I'm glad that you're not technically in the competition
Well,
because you
yeah.
would have blown them away
yeah,
big
for
time.
free.
I'll tell you, this clear green is called a Fantastic version of the N64. They had like maybe 7 different ones, and they go for more than the regular versions. So I would say this console, along with the original controller, is probably worth $200.
Wow.
Stop
Jess.
it.
It seriously is.
This is like the Antiques Roadshow.
And these 2 games are probably like $10 to $20 games. This one is like in the $30 range.
Wow.
Stop.
That extra controller that you have there is probably like $15. This little controller pack and the Rumble pack is an extra $15. So you're looking at like, close to $300.
Your kids can go to college.
Stop.
in value here.
That is crazy.
All 3 sons are going to college.
This was an excellent
That's
dumpster score.
awesome.
I can't believe someone would throw that away.
No,
Yeah,
but
no.
people do all the
That,
time.
and that was 14 years ago. I think the
Yeah.
collection wasn't quite
Right.
the
Somebody
same.
Yeah,
Somebody
retro
found
gaming
it.
was not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
But a lot
Plus-
of people still do throw this kind of stuff away. I mean, people find crazy deals
Or even
at
at
yard
garage
sales
sales.
and stuff like that all the time. 'Cause
It's like
lot
a
of people don't know.
grandparent thinking it's just a toy that's plastic and
Exactly.
worthless.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow, I'm sweating.
So what's
That's
your
cool.
craziest score? So that's Jess's
Yeah. That's
probably
craziest
my
score. Like,
craziest
tell us
score.
about.
I would say one of my craziest scores, my highest profit score ever, happened a year and a half ago at the world's longest yard sale. So this
Okay.
is a yard sale that goes along a highway across 4 states. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it
Wow.
goes right through Kentucky. So I was there, I was hunting, came up on this guy with a tarp full of games, or toys rather, not games. Just like mostly junk, like little kid stuff. And I reach in a box and I pull out this little Ziploc baggie of Pokemon cards.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay. And looking through the first couple ones, I was like, there's nothing special here because 99% of Pokemon cards are completely worthless. I keep going through the stack and eventually come up on a base set Charizard card that was holographic and also what's called shadowless. So it's like a specific variant of the original Charizard. I paid, I think, $2 for the whole bag, so it had maybe 5 cents into this card, and at the time, at least, it was worth $300 to $400.
Wow.
So 5 cents into $300 to $400 is, I don't even know what the
Yeah.
percentages
Yeah,
are on
that's
that.
crazy.
Not my highest dollar flip ever, but definitely my best margins. It was
love
pretty
it.
exciting.
It's awesome.
That's fun. So how did this all start? Like, tell us a little bit. Like, now you're on YouTube, and that's kind of, I think, primarily what you're passionate about. But it started with buying and selling stuff.
Yeah.
We have a shared, history with that. I'm a buyer and seller too, just more Facebook Marketplace.
He's the Facebook Marketplace bandit.
Yep, that's me. But yeah, how'd you start? How'd you start in all this?
Yeah, so this all started when my wife, Erica, started law school. I was looking around for like a side hustle to keep me busy while she's up late studying at nights. We could have definitely used the extra income. I was working at a nonprofit at the time and started watching YouTube videos and just exploring other people's side hustles through that. And realized I found this entire segment of people who would go to thrift stores and yard sales and estate sales and places like that, find items that were underpriced and sell them online. And I was watching these videos and thinking to myself the whole time, I don't think these people are that much smarter than me. I really feel like I could do this on my own. So I decided to try it, took $500 of birthday and Christmas money from my grandma and that I had saved up because I very rarely spend money, and went out to some yard sales, bought the cheapest stuff that I possibly could, lowest expenditure. Like originally I bought some like Marvel belt buckles and some Skylanders figures.
Lots of Rainbow Six on PC.
Even at the time, I wasn't that silly.
Okay. Okay.
We're not letting that
Keep
die.
telling your
Alex.
story. Keep telling your story.
And yeah, spent most of it on either yard sale stuff or supplies to ship it. And from there, just sort of gradually built my budget, got into flipping books from thrift stores on Amazon, and then eventually settled into video games as my primary niche, which has its pros and cons. But over time, I've built that up. A couple years ago, started a YouTube channel because I thought that the resale niche, there was a lot of the same, like middle-aged dad bod white guys with a GoPro on their chest going to yard sales and talking about their finds. And I was like, I feel like this genre could maybe be pushed farther. And at the time I was just like, I'm just going to record what I'm doing for business anyway and go from there. At this point, most of my videos I'll come up with some sort of a theme or a narrative, an arc that I want to explore and build a video around that. But anyways, now I'm a full-time reseller. I started out reselling just, as a side hustle. After about a year of that, I actually got fired from a different job twice. And after the second time I got fired, that could be another entire podcast. I was like, man, I've had enough income with just the side hustle that I could have theoretically replaced it for a couple months. I would have liked to have more months than that, but Erica and I talked about it and we're just like, let's try it out full time and see if we can support ourselves. I got my substitute teaching license just as like a backup, but never ended up needing it.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I have to ask about the name Pheonix Resale. When I first heard it, I thought maybe you were based in Phoenix, but then I'm now realizing it's the bird.
Yep. My
Okay.
Instagram bio is the bird, not the city.
Okay. Okay.
So
that makes
it's a
sense.
common mistake.
Yeah. Is
If I
there
could
a
go back
connection
and
to
rename
it?
myself,
Okay.
I probably would, but it was meant to be sort of a what I hoped would be a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I want this business to represent a rise from, the ashes of my failed career. And so far it really has. So maybe it was a good thing that I named it that. I don't know. It has definitely had a good amount of confusion associated with it, though.
And one thing I've noticed about your channel versus I guess others is I feel like lots of different people, like you just draw lots of different people into what you're watching. So it's like me, I don't know really anything about video games, but there's like something appealing where I like want to watch every week and I subscribe and it comes up. So I'm watching, but when did you realize that was the case? Because I mean, you started and probably didn't have that many followers, but now I think it's like almost 200,000. So when did you realize over 200,000?
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so when did you realize that this was something that lots of people could relate to?
Yeah.
That was going to grow?
I don't think there really was a moment for me. Like it's been very gradual, and I wouldn't say, like, there have definitely been really solid periods of channel growth. But it's been a very gradual process of just forcing myself to learn every day how to make better videos, which I think a lot of reseller YouTubers are primarily resellers, and so their videos kind of stagnate, which is for a lot of people exactly what they want. It's a part of their daily or weekly rhythm, and it's like calming in some way to just watch someone go to yard sales and do the same thing each time. What's he going to find? But I kind of wanted to push it a little bit farther because I found that YouTube was the part of the business that was really kind of capturing the creative part of my mind. And I also saw the potential for, like, if you're a reseller and you want to be twice as successful, you have to do twice as much work, or you have to find twice as good of connections, or get twice as efficient, which is pretty hard. On YouTube, you can do the same amount of work, but do it better and get twice the results, right? So for a single person, YouTube is a lot more scalable. So I really gravitated towards that, and it's been a long journey of just figuring out how to make better videos. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to look in the camera. They told me not to ahead of time.
Okay. You're used to it. That's your gig. So
Yeah.
Your face just made for the camera.
Although every time I'm like, wait a second, that's not a GoPro. That's not an iPhone. What is this? What's funny is I make videos like full time for a living, but this is like the nicest piece of sound equipment I've ever seen. I'm like, what do I do with this mic?
So what do you think was the biggest reason that your channel saw as much growth as it did compared to others? Is it because you kind of focused in on video games? Is it just lightning that struck? Or
I think that helps. I think it's definitely helpful that my channel applies or interests both video game collectors and resellers, because that's sort of a couple niches that I'm able to pull from. I would say the bigger factor, and my mind goes a million places when I'm asked that question, because there's a million things that I'm always learning, like how to optimize your titles and your thumbnails, and how to create a good hook and interest people, and how to create a narrative that is engaging. But I would say the overarching theme of my growth on YouTube is just being obsessed with making every video better. I've spent hundreds of hours of just watching YouTube videos on how to make good YouTube videos, or interviews with the top creators and getting ideas that way. I think Conor McGregor one time said in an interview, "I'm not talented, I'm obsessed." Like, he doesn't stop thinking about fighting. And by the way, multiple people have said in my comments that I kind of look like Conor McGregor. So
I should start working out then too, your videos, if that's the case.
Exactly.
That's motivating.
His body isn't quite as chiseled as mine, but close enough, I guess.
Yeah. So like now, you said you started out like selling, reselling. Do you see yourself, are you a reseller or are you a YouTuber?
Yeah.
So I guess like how, if you were to identify one of those, like what are you more passionate about? And you've talked a little bit about that. Also, like just your bank account, which one like, are you making more from one or the other?
Yeah, because what you gravitate more towards doesn't necessarily reflect what makes the most money.
Yeah.
But I would say both financially and also in terms of what takes up the most mental real estate for the last, honestly, probably year and a half, it's really been more YouTube, which at this point is the bigger chunk financially, but at the time was not. I mean, the first 8 months of my YouTube channel, I didn't make anything.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about YouTube is simultaneously very creative and very analytical. And I think something about that really appeals to me. I don't really see myself as a super creative person. I am very analytical. But yeah, being able to, like, YouTube's data that they give you on the like percentages of people that's clicking on your video, and Alex knows this from looking at the church's YouTube channel, and like where people are clicking off of your video, they're losing interest, and like it's not appealing to as many people. There's so much that you can use to make yourself better. It's really kind of addicting.
So we have listeners all over the age spectrum, and so I think when we talk about YouTube and you're like, what do you mean you make money on YouTube? Like, can you just give us just a quick, like, how does that work, for somebody that's like older and like, my son's telling me he wants to be a YouTuber and not go to college.
Yes.
Like, is he going to be stuck in my basement forever? Like, how do you help explain that to people?
Yeah, I love that question, because I love the idea that like somebody might hear this podcast who is considering it and maybe, be helped by it. And it's the most common question that I have when I go to like family events.
Yeah.
And, it comes up that I'm making videos. You can tell that's the question everyone wants to ask.
Yeah.
Like, does that actually make money? And yes, it does. The creator economy is growing incredibly quickly. The primary way that a lot of YouTubers make money is through what's called AdSense. So that is like anytime you're watching a YouTube video and there's an ad that comes up, that is a spot that Google has placed on your video that just goes to the highest bidder, where companies can say, whether it's maybe like Liberty Mutual, I want to advertise on this many channels, and they can even get specific of like keywords and stuff like that, so it's kind of targeted. But anyway, AdSense revenue is the first and primary way that a lot of channels will make money. You can also make money through sponsorships. So a brand reaches out to you directly, and sort of similar to how, like, if you listen to various radio shows, you might have an ad that is created by Geico, and then you might also have a Geico ad that is read by the host of the show, and those cost a lot more because that comes with the weight of the reputation and the relationship that radio host has built. So if your channel gets big enough, sometimes brands will reach out to you and say, hey, will you talk about our product for a minute, just like the radio? And you can make money that way. There are also a lot of creators will start businesses that relate to what they talk about on their channel. So maybe I was just talking in my car, in the car to my mom about like knitting YouTubers. She doesn't watch any, but I was telling her that she should because she would like it. But like maybe your favorite knitting YouTuber puts out a line of yarn that just crushes it with their following because they're already getting a bunch of tips from them, and they just like being able to support them in that way financially. YouTubers will do merch. I have a paid subscription Discord server that helps people sell video games better.
Gotcha.
So there's all kinds of revenue models that you can develop once you hone the skill of holding people's attention, because attention is the ultimate currency of the internet economy.
And just thinking about making money and revenue, what's the odds of somebody starting a YouTube channel and then actually making money off of it? Is that pretty small? Is it kind of like up in the air?
I was looking up statistics on that the other day. Apparently, it's very comparable odds that you will start a channel that ultimately reaches 1 million subscribers to high school athletes going pro.
Gotcha.
To give you sort of not great, but the good news is you can make really good money at much below 1 million subscribers. One thing that they say a lot in the industry is the riches are in the niches. So if you've got a community that really looks up to you and that you build a lot of trust and reputation with, brands that serve that community will pay you a lot of money to support their product. And oftentimes it might be a product that you already love anyway. So that can be a fantastic opportunity. Like for my channel, there are like listing softwares for resellers that these brands are looking to get in front of more resellers. So they'll come to a channel like mine that they know serves that community and say, hey, will you promote this? Will you work this into your business and talk about it more? And they'll pay for that exposure similar to how they would pay for, a TV or radio ad.
That's cool. So if you're given some thought or advice to, a high schooler or an aspiring YouTuber or creator, what would you how would you say to start? Like what kind of just tools do you need? What do you tap into creatively? Like you said, that's where you get to tap in. Just what would you give encouragements to start, and then like probably to keep grinding, because that's probably the more difficult part. Starting is difficult, but keeping going when you're not seeing the results that you assume when you're like watching Mr. Beast, and you're like, what? I don't have billions of followers. What's going on?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm curious. Do you guys know anyone personally that wants to be a YouTuber or a creator of some kind? I hear that that's increasingly popular among kids.
Yeah, my 8-year-old has definitely even talked about it.
Yeah.
Just like seeing other.
I don't know
I
that
think it's
many
like
kids.
it's something where Alex has you've talked about like we're digital immigrants and they're our kids are digital natives because so it's like, to me, when they're talking about wanting to be a YouTuber, it's like it's a legitimate job, like it's a legitimate option, whereas us being older, we've like seen maybe success or even like the creation of YouTube come, and so I think that at least my oldest like looks at it as like, this is like something I could do.
yeah, I think my kids, when I was younger, it was like, I want to be an actor, or I want to be like a musician. And some of that musicianship is still there, but that was controlled by Sony, or, just that's how people consumed media, is like watching, I want to be the next Tom Cruise. And my kids, like, they don't, if I said, do you want to be an actor or an actress? They probably have no clue what that means. But if I'm like, do you want to be a YouTuber? You want to be like Mr. Caleb? That's what they call you. Or, or Dude Perfect. My son's very into Dude Perfect.
Yeah, they're great.
Then like that's what they see as forms of entertainment versus like what we did. Yep. Like you were saying, the radio for a lot of people, or watching TV, and commercials kind of were that thing. So yeah, I think I'm seeing that more and more. I've got my oldest is 9, and yeah, he's like wanting to make videos and like do things like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so to answer the question, advice, I would say there are 2 big pieces of advice that come into my mind. The first one is, if you're considering starting a channel and you know what topic you want to cover, you have something that you're passionate about, I would say commit early on to making 10 terrible videos. The reason for that is a few things. One is people can be really paralyzed by starting. It's sort of like when you're writing an essay and you're staring at that blank page and it just seems overwhelming. And I think what can inhibit a lot of people is trying to make their first stuff good. When you go to almost every top creator, if you scroll all the way back to their first stuff, it's terrible. It's almost unwatchable. And you have to commit to making 10 terrible videos, because that's going to teach you a lot of tedious stuff that you just have to learn, right? How do I operate the camera? How do I upload footage into an editing software? How do I edit a video? How do I get that onto YouTube? All of this stuff. And after the first 10 videos, you'll be in a rhythm with that. You'll have it down. And after that, you can focus on actually making stuff good, and you will have overcome your fear of starting, right? Because you've acknowledged you're putting stuff out there that you don't even like, right? So if other people like it, of course they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an element of overcoming, because you have to have some courage, right, to put yourself out there. And oftentimes, especially when you're putting stuff out there that you feel is good, right, that you want other people to acknowledge is good, there's a lot of vulnerability there. So I would just say, starting out, like, in the beginning, you have to focus more on quantity than quality, because you have to get your reps in. You have to accept you're not going to be an expert right away, and nobody's really going to like to watch your stuff, and that's the only way you can get better. The second thing that I would say is a piece of advice that I actually got from a football coach who goes to my church. I've never played football, but I hear some people do. He said, you will never be great at something you don't love to practice. So if during the course of those 10 videos you realize, this is really more of a chore for me than anything. A lot of people don't know Pheonix Resale was not my first YouTube channel. I started an awful channel about personal finance called Winning with Money.
Oh.
I probably shouldn't have said the name, because you're going to go look it up. But honestly, like, if people want to see a good example of like, if people want to see a good example of this is what a bad YouTube channel, a bad first at bat looks like, it feels like kind of corporate, and there are like slides, and like I'm doing everything I can to remain engaging. Some of them are shot in my dirty studio apartment. And I realized during the course of those 10 videos that I made on that channel, this whole process of scripting and researching and then filming and then editing, it's kind of draining, and I don't really like it that much. So I stopped. And I didn't start again until I had something that I did really love. And whether or not it got the views that I wanted it to or the reception I wanted it to, it was a process that I enjoyed. And it was I was doing the stuff anyway. It was just videos of me going out and game hunting, and I was doing that anyway. So it was pretty low risk, and it was something that I enjoyed. So the success element of it, that's what allowed me to pursue through those first 8 months where I didn't make a dime, because it was still fun.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it earlier, having a parasocial relationship with us a little bit by watching.
Do you guys talk about that much on here?
We
Have you discussed
haven't.
that before?
I looked up a definition just so people were kind of clued in a little bit that it's a one-sided relationship where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time. The other party is a persona and is completely unaware of the other person's existence for the most part. So, I mean, this is something that's becoming talked about more and more as, personality-based content is popular and rising, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or what have you. Is that something you've encountered yet? Do you feel you're at that level where maybe have you ran into someone when you're out and about and they're like, can I get an autograph?
On occasion, the places where I run into people who have watched the channel most is by far like video game conventions, because all those people are, game collectors and exactly. And some on a rare occasion they'll ask to give me a hug because they really feel like this guy's part of my life, and maybe I've learned something from him. Maybe I feel like I know the other people on his team, and it's like a sitcom almost. And parasocial relationships have happened forever. As long as media has been around, it could be your favorite singer or your favorite actor. But there's definitely another element where like you subscribe oftentimes to a YouTube channel, especially in the like vlog or like personality space, because you like who the person actually is. They're not playing a character. It's really them. And you feel like I actually know. In a lot of ways they do. But there's that lopsidedness there of like, I've never met you. I normally definitely wouldn't give you a hug, but I don't really mind. So that can definitely be. And also, I've always said there should be a term for like a dual parasocial relationship where like two creators meet for the first time who have only really known each other through their content, but they actually do like they can hit it off immediately like old friends. Because they've been experiencing each other through their respective creations. So somebody think of a term for that.
Happened several times on like your channel because you've gotten with other resellers that are part of it, and then you guys get together and it's like, man, we're homies already, just from that. And I think we've talked about it a little bit on here, we'll run into people not so terribly out in the wild, but more like in the atrium or things like that, and they'll be like, oh, I love this, or you shared this and that was really cool. Like, I did a funeral last week just for my role as online minister. I had never met this family before, but because of seeing me preach, listening to the podcast weekly, just being on the announcements as the online minister and just talking to people, through a lens, like we want you to do our son's funeral, and for me, that was like a whole nother level of parasocial relationship where there's just intimacy and trust there that I was blown away by. And I felt like I could walk into that. And for them, it didn't feel like this awkward. I've done funerals where I'm literally meeting someone the first time, and it's like, okay, we've got to walk through that song and dance of getting to know one another and me explain what I'm about and, things like that. And it just wasn't there, which was just a cool, just weird, a lot. Like I'm still processing just through the dynamic that created, which was pretty cool. And so,
I can't top that.
Yeah. Well, there's several of those. And so it just got me thinking more and more about the legitimacy of some of those relationships and that they do matter and the influence you have in lives.
Because it honestly, in a way, it's not that they don't know you, because they do know a lot about you. They just don't. You just don't know them. So you probably had to go through that process on your end of like, tell me your story and all that stuff. But
for sure,
I think they did probably have a pretty accurate view of who you are.
Well, and I think even as people are hearing this conversation, if they're weighing whether they want to get involved in something like this, I think that's something you almost have to be okay with to a certain extent. But I think we've all heard some bad stories about that relationship too,
Yeah.
or stalkers or whatever. But fortunately for you, it sounds like no creepy interactions.
Not yet.
Okay, that's good.
Just me.
Knock on wood.
Just
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah, this guy gave me a GameCube game once. You could watch my
Wow.
videos.
The PC game.
Yeah.
That's love. So just speaking of faith, how do you feel like your faith does influence your YouTubing? Because I think that I don't even want to call it pressure, but I think that as Christians, like we have this calling to share our faith or to be bold or something like that. But it's almost like you have to be a little creative too when it's not necessarily a spiritual content or a theme. So how do you find that you do that in what you're doing?
Yeah, my view on being a Christian YouTuber, I think, is shaped a lot by Tim Keller. He has a book called Every Good Endeavor, I think, where he basically says what it means to be a Christian dentist is not that you are sharing the gospel with everyone who sits down in your chair, but rather part of our call as believers, work is part of the essence of the Christian call. And so just doing your work well and participating with God in the creative and restorative elements of what you do in the world is in itself a good and beautiful part of what we're called to do. So I'm not actively looking for any point that I can slip my faith in or, like throw Jesus in there or whatever. And it comes up sometimes because it's part of who I am. But I see my greatest calling as a Christian YouTuber as figuring out how to do that in the best way that I can. So
I think I have an example that I think would be cool if you shared it. And I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but I think like your character and your integrity and your Christ likeness really came out in that. Just share real quick the Dragon Ball Z story, because you easily could have I know what you're talking about. I just thought, I was like, that's really precious.
Yeah, so I was in a pawn shop, as I often am, and was talking with the owners, and they were being really gracious with me. He apparently, so I had filmed a video there before, and it brought them some solid business. So I always say, folks, support your local people. If you're in the area, definitely come out to AAA Pawn or whatever it was. And that had brought them some business. So he actually brought me into their back room where they had a bunch of video games that were not for sale and let me pick through that, which, was fantastic. So there was a lot of goodwill there. And there was this one stack of games that I was going through that he was like, they were all loose, $2-3 a piece, whatever. And there was one in there that was worth $80. And I was like, man, honestly, I got to let you know, this is a really valuable game. I could have easily, just thrown it in the stack and been like, $2-3, great. And the pawn shop wouldn't have really cared either, because they know what the game is about. They're trying to flip stuff. And if somebody brings a box of stuff to them that's worth $2,000 and says, I want $100, they're going to say deal. They're not going to. But I was just like, you know what, these people, they're getting into more of business associate kind of territory. And I just want to make it clear to them that I'm out to treat them right. And I was like, hey, this is worth about $80. If you want, I'm happy to give you $40 for it if you still want to sell it, or if you want to put it in the case and ask $80, that's totally fine. And they just really appreciated it. They were like, hey, $40 sounds great. And so that was just an example of the way that my sort of Christian worldview shapes my business philosophy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's netted me some really good results and some very, even business-wise, beneficial partnerships.
Yeah, I think we see that. Yeah, I've noticed that integrity thing on the channel a lot. It's like, I'm straight up going to tell you, here's what I'm going to offer you, and I value relationships, and I'm not trying to take advantage of people. Because a lot of times in this kind of industry, when you have information that they don't have, it can feel shady, or like you've been taking advantage of someone. And so I think that's a cool thing.
And that's, I think, probably another thing that I should mention is one of the hardest things about being on YouTube is having a set of values that you are trying to put out there into the world, and sometimes having people in the comment section, or sometimes even in person, see you as the opposite of that, right? So I want to be putting out and demonstrating that I'm a person of integrity. I want to treat people right. I want to pay people the amount that I would want to be paid for stuff. Basically, you know, the golden rule. I want to conduct myself honestly. But oftentimes, like my biggest critics, it's very common in the comment section. You're ripping people off. You're not giving them enough money. You're a scammer. You're a scalper, you know, on down the line. And that can be, like, even though they're strangers on the internet, to hear that a bunch of times in a row about yourself when you're trying to represent the opposite can be really tough. So I think that's another thing that I would say for people to expect if they're getting into it. I think a lot of niches are probably not as contentious as reselling, right? Because the nature of it is you have to buy things for under market value and sell them for more.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a knitting channel, I would say you probably will have less haters. But if you get big, you still will have some.
Yeah.
You know, there will be people who say, I hate that stitch that you do, you know, in every other video or whatever.
So have you actually had anybody named Hank get mad at you that you use that term, hater Hank? Kind of like Karen, like people use Karen, and some Karens are like...
I haven't had any Karens or any Hanks to this point.
Okay.
Although if they talk to me about it, they probably wouldn't actually be a hater. So I might actually feel bad. That's a term that I use on my YouTube channel to, like, you know, a mythical person, where sometimes I'll represent what the comments are about to say, and I'll try to give my rebuttal. I'll say, and the hater Hanks out there are going to say, Pheonix Resale is underpaying,
Yeah.
or whatever.
You got the whole voice and flip the glasses upside down.
Yeah, it's a character.
It's a character. It's good. It's good.
That's awesome. Oh,
No, you go ahead. I grab something.
What's that?
I got more in the bag.
You
so-
got
Oh, you
another
got more.
PC
Oh my
game?
gosh, he's got a whole
Okay.
backpack
He
full
just
of
bought all the
goodies.
PC games he could find.
Hold on. So a lot of times people give you gifts, and everybody on your channel gives you gifts, but there's other stars of your channel
That's true.
that I don't see get gifts.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
You have a dog that
I
is
do,
that is
Elsie.
often on your channel, Elsie, and we got a Mr.
That's
Crab.
so amazing.
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah,
Mr.
there.
Krabs chew toy for Elsie. That is one of the more thoughtful gifts I have ever gotten. The viewers are going to get a huge kick out of this.
And you have a wife named Erica, and she's a big Harry Potter fan, right?
She is.
And she doesn't always get things, and so we've got a little Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh.
A gift.
Shout out to Erica for always being supportive.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Harry Potter with Hedwig.
and randomly just throwing in the channel and things like that sometimes. And so
Yep.
that's for the other people that are supporters. So we figured you got those cool gifts. That's fun.
I have a whole stack. I have a
Yeah.
haul. I'm gonna have to do a haul
them
video.
Yeah, hopefully you can take them home.
CCC podcast haul
Yeah.
with Caleb.
There you go. You can
be
put
the
it on
first
the,
one
on
on
the
the
money.
internet.
Put it on the money channel.
Winning with money.
Yeah, winning with money.
I love it.
Well, thanks, Caleb, for your time and
Yeah.
taking the time to do this. Is there any closing thoughts you had or anything you wanted to share with us before we send you
Closing
away?
thoughts.
We always like to give our guests a moment.
We should
If
probably
there's-
confirm. I don't think we actually mentioned it. If people are trying to put two and two together, your dad is the lead
Yeah,
minister.
we didn't even talk about
at
that.
Christ Community
Yeah,
Church.
Caleb Ashton is my full name.
Yeah.
And Mark Ashton is
The lead
the pastor
minister.
of this
Yep.
church,
Yeah.
and in some way, all of your boss.
Yeah.
So they had to be nice to me.
We did. He actually forced us. He's like, my son is going to be in town. He's really wanted to be on your podcast. Could you make it happen?
There was
You
a
know?
bonus involved.
Yeah. So winning with money right there.
You guys are taking notes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's all. Thank you, though, for real. Thank
No,
you
you
for
guys,
being here.
you crushed it with the questions, and I
making the
appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it. If anyone listening has any questions or concerns, they want to reach out to us, you can do that on social media at CCC Omaha, or you can send us an email directly to this podcast. That's podcast@cccomaha.org. But until next time, we'll talk to you then.